along with myself, I have Lynn Hilt, who is also a program administrator and a Google trainer. And Lynn will be assisting with answering any questions in the chat. So feel free to introduce yourself in the chat in Zoom, as well as if you have a question, you can ask by unmuting yourself. But I would ask that everybody does mute themselves. Just as a reminder, this I have a couple of templates and documents for you. In the chat, I did put in the link to our, as well as resources for the rest of these sessions. So again, if you have questions, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Lynn Hilt will be answering questions in the chat. And just a reminder to mute yourself as well. All right, so just a quick overview here. What I put in the chat was this Google Doc. This Google Doc has a hyperlink right here that has the live schedule of sessions. When you click on that hyperlink, it's going to take you to the live schedule of sessions. So today we are on Google Docs and Google Sheets. This is just a reminder of the other sessions that we have upcoming on Google Forms, Google Slides, and Mail and Calendar. All of these will be recorded. So following this today, the recording will be placed right here. So for those of you who attended Lynn's Drive and Chrome browser, you will find the recording right there. Additionally, in this document is another hyperlink that will take you to, Lynn has prepared some really awesome resources for you, some tasks to practice for everything we're going to do. So she has a bunch of tasks and resources from the Chrome and Drive session. So if you didn't get a chance to attend that, you can watch her video that's in the initial sheet here, as well as play with the resources that are on here. For Google Docs, we also have resources on here for you to try in today. But I am going to demo. I'm going to spend the first half of the time going through the ins and outs of Google Docs, and I'm going to spend the second half hour going through the ins and outs of Google Sheets. These are both main products of what we call the G Suite in Google. You'll hear that term a lot. The G Suite pretty much consists of Drive, Docs, Sheets, Slides, and Forms. Those are your big ones that are used within here. So for the Google Docs, a couple different ways to get there. I'm going to show you some different things for that. The primary way that most people go to Google Docs is from their Drive. So one of the things with Google, if you did not know this, all you have to do is type in whatever product you want .google.com. So if you want to go to Google Drive, you just hit drive.google.com and it will take you right to your Google Drive. So from here, when I'm in my Drive, I can immediately launch by clicking, I'm in my Drive, I click New, and I go down here to Google Docs. So if you see here, there's where the rest of your G Suite is. If you go down to More, you see you have all these. You might not have some of these because these are some apps that I have, but your main Google products in the G Suite are Docs, Sheets, Slides, and Forms. So what we're going to look at today are some pretty cool features of Docs. So the first thing I want you to do is when you are on the Docs here, I want you to hover over, if you're following along, and you can do this, or if you just want to watch, but you see this little arrow here. If you were to just click on this, it's going to launch a new doc, but I don't want to do that right away. What I want to do is I want to show you something called the template gallery with Google Docs. So when I hover over a blank document and I have from a template, in Google, in your domain, whether you're at the IU, you're Wilson, Governor Mifflin, all of you have two options you're going to see in your template gallery. The very first one is going to be general, and these are pre-built templates that Google has put in for you. So basically what these are boilerplates. So, you know, you think of a resume, a letter, an essay, All of those things, these are pre-built. So the formatting is already done for you. All you have to do is you download it and then you put your own content in there. So it takes care of all the formatting for you. So when you scroll through here, what Google has put in for you already are tons. So here are letters, business letters, resume. About this is instead of general, you also have your own domain. So your school district, you have the ability to upload your own templates. So if you want everybody in your building, as a former high school assistant principal, my administrative assistant was basically my go person. And so for her, having things that were common made her and my life so much easier. So, if we wanted everybody to be using the same discipline form, the same memos, the same incident reports, all of those things just made it a lot simpler. So if you want, you can upload your own templates. So all you do is you create it and you click the submit template, and then everybody in that school has access to that template. So in essence, you can create your own boiler templates. So if you and your principal, you want the teachers who submit lesson plans to all use the same lesson plan format, you can submit a lesson plan template. Other ideas I have in there, memos that has your district's letterhead you can put up there. So if you have your welcome back letter, your awards night letter, letters to parents, about parent-teacher conferences, observations, all of those you can put up there. So the template's there, and then anybody in your entity has access to them just like that. So that's a really cool feature to get that. So that was one way to get to Google Docs that I mentioned, was through Drive. Other people, again, if I said if whatever the product is, .google.com is another way to get there. So if you open up a tab and you don't want to go to your Google Drive, all you type in is docs.google.com, and it will take you right to the Google Docs area where you can get templates or create a new one from there. So that's entirely up to you, whatever your preference is. It's either launching from the Drive and clicking new and going to here, or going and typing in docs.google.com. A couple of things happen when you launch a Google Doc, just to be aware of that. One of the most important things to do when you launch a Google Doc for the very first time is to give it a name right away. If you don't do that, what happens is you will have a significant handful of quote unquote untitled documents in your Drive. Because the second I launch this now, this is now saving in my Google Drive. So I want to make sure I give this a name right away. That way it's easy to find. Otherwise it will stay as untitled document in the Google Drive. So the second I've done that, you see where it says here, all changes saved in Drive. There's no save button with a Google Doc. Everything is saved into the Google Cloud. So there's no saving. It's saving automatically. You see the changes, and I'm going to show you how to see those changes throughout. So couple things that we're going to talk about within here today are the idea of information sharing and collaboration with a Google Doc, how you can take and download your Google Doc into different formats if you want to, the permissions associated with sharing, how to insert images, how to hyperlink text, how to use bookmark features within documents. So if you're using Google Docs for a student handbooks can get very cumbersome. So bookmarking things within there to navigate very quickly are things you can do. How do you use the voice typing feature in Google Docs? The translation features in a Google document. What are different edit modes available to you, and what are some other really cool tools and features that work with you in a Google Doc? We'll look at version history and document details, why you want to be aware of those, how to adjust your page layout, doing just within the scope of this training document, so you can see it up to see how I did certain things in here. So the first thing we're going to look at is the idea of information sharing and digital collaboration, which is going to also tie in permissions here. So when I've given my document a name, I've called this Docs and Sheets 101 or 101. Here's my content that I have created. So now that I have created my document and I want somebody else to see this document, all I'm going to do is while I'm in the document is I'm going to go up to and I'm going to click share. And when this comes up right here, this is going to give me a script per se of who, what, where, when, why, all these things. So when this comes up, I have a lot of different options. So as you can see, when I share, it immediately tells me that I'm the owner of this document. Now, Lynn's name is here because I shared this with her ahead of time and I gave her editing features. But let's say at this point, I wanted to give Jill as well editing features. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to start typing in her email address, and you're going to see it's going to pre-populate anybody who's got those first couple initials in my IU. It's going to do the exact same thing in your organization as well, because all of your users are uploaded into your Google domain. So I want Jill to also be a person who's going to be able to edit this. So as soon as I add her name there, over on the right-hand side right here, I have a little drop down. And this is where what I can do is I can dictate what do I want Jill to be able to do. Do I want Jill to just be able to view this document? That means she's going to be able to see my Google document, but she's not going to be able to do anything to it other than view it. That's the same thing as attaching a Word document in an email and saying, hey, take a look at this. I could give her commenter features, which means she can add comments to it, but not change the content of the document. Or what I can do is I can give her full-blown editor access. Giving somebody editor access is important to consider because this means that they can make changes to your document. So if you have to really think about what do I want people to do. You know, if you are an administrative assistant, you're sending things out to the staff and you just want them to view it, you're just going to share this and give them view access only. Or if you want them to get comments or give you feedback, you maybe choose this. But editing access is only if you want people to be collaborating on the document with you at the same time. Now, once I decide that I want Jill to just be view access, this is like sending an email. I could say in here, Jill, take a look at this, and I'll be in touch. Okay. And if I click send, it's going to send an email to her that says, Josh Hoyt has shared the following document with you. All right. So all that's going to do is give her a hyperlink to the Google Doc. What Google does is Google doesn't attach files. What Google does is Google opens up your drive for people to come and view a specific file that you want them to see. That's in essence what's happening. That's why using Google Docs is really powerful, because when you try to send some things over Outlook, the size of the file can sometimes dampen your ability to send it to too large of a file. With Google, I'm not sending the file. Google, I'm giving you access to the file that I own. So I don't have to worry about the size of the file. You also see you have a couple settings up here as well. So anytime you see gears, you have settings. So when I click on those settings, right, I can turn these on or off. So if I want Jill, or in this case, Lynn, who's an editor, if I want Lynn to be able to change permissions and share, I have that turned on. So she could take my document that I created and share it with other people and give people permissions. But I could turn that feature on. That, you know, I don't want people to be able to download, print, or copy my document. I could uncheck this, and no matter who I share that with, they're not going to be able to print it, download, or copy it. So, you know, you have some really cool features that you're able to do within your sharing settings to make it however open or restrictive that you want with this. So that's in terms of giving specific access. Additionally, things you can do with sharing here is you see these are individual people. Now within your building, you have distribution groups. We don't necessarily have them at the IU, but you might have like an all faculty group. You might have a grade 3 group. You might have a math department group, whatever that may be. You can type in your distribution list and it will send that Google Doc to that entire distribution list as well. So it's whether it's the individual or the group, you can give an entire group editing access. You want to be careful of that. Or you can give specific individuals. It's entirely up to you. But the really neat feature here is if you see, if I would have added Jill, Lynn and I would have had editing access, but Jill would have only had viewing access. So multiple people can be on that document. And I know multiple people are on the document right now, just to go back to this for a second, because of right here. If you look at the screen, Lynn's logged in. So I can tell that she's in the document right now because she has editing access. But the rest of you are in the document right now. This document is anyone with the link. So what Google does is they give people anonymous animals. And that's how you can tell. I don't know who you are, but I know that there are people who are in the document right now. So going back to the share feature, these are individual people, or another thing that you can do right here is you can just grab the hyperlink to the document. So when I click that share button, if I click copy link, what that's going to do is I've copied the hyperlink to this Google document. If I go back to here and I just type the word document, I'm going to highlight the entire Word document and I'm going to click the little link up here. That little link allows me to insert a hyperlink. So I'm going to paste the link in there. And now this link is a link to that Google document. So if I can open that up to whoever I want, whenever I want, and share immediately just by doing something like that. But you also want to be careful about being restrictive. So one of the things that you're going to see with the link options here is, you see the little word change. Your districts are going to be as restrictive as possible. The default setting that's going to come up is going to be anyone with whatever your domains is. So if you're a Governor Mifflin teacher, you're going to see anyone at Governor Mifflin can view this. Mine is the IU. If you want anybody, parents, whoever, to see something, you have to make sure you check it with anyone with the link. Or what's going to happen is an outside viewer of your district is going to be unable to open it. They're going to be given a message that says, hey, open this document. But when they go to click on the document, they're going to get a message that says, you do not have permission to access this document. And that's because if they don't have a district email, they're not going to be able to open it. But if you change that to anyone with the link, that will allow the individual to open it up. So sharing is a pretty simple thing to do. You just got to think about, what do you want people to do with the document? Right now, if Lynn wanted to, Lynn could be simultaneously typing in the document. Lynn, if you're able to do that, if you're in the chat, that's fine. But if you're able to just see, you can see her typing right now. I see her typing in, and you can see she says, "I'm ruining your doc." You know, I always go back to my mother concept. I would never give my own mother editing access on a Google Doc because my mother would destroy the document. I'd give my mom view access only. Nothing against my mom, but when it comes to text, she has no idea what she's doing. So you have to think about, who are your destroyers and who are the people you trust. People who you believe can do it and aren't going to screw things up like that where it disappears. You know, so that's a big no-no. So that would be like my mother deleting all the text and going, Josh, I think something happened to your document. Now the really cool feature is if you do have a destructor or destroyer in there, you have the ability to go back and fix things. So at this point, I might look at Lynn and go, Lynn, I think I'm going to change your access to view only. But in the event that something like that happens and you're like, oh my goodness, I just lost everything. You didn't lose everything. Because remember, things are being saved all the time. So when you're in your Google Doc, if you go up to File and you go down to your version history, all right, so File, version history, I can see everything that's happened to this document over time and who did it. So I see that at 3:20, Lynn was in the document, and I can see, you see my name here has the color teal, I'll call that, and Lynn is purple. I can see where Lynn did some things in purple. And should I want to see exactly what that was, I can expand the details, and it's going to go down and give me a running record of everything Lynn did. So if I want to undo things Lynn did, I can go back to and I can restore the version where Lynn did, where it basically undid everything Lynn did. So that's a really cool feature of the version history. It's constantly saving those changes over and over and over again. So if I'm like, all right, well, this is where I want to be. This is just before Lynn decided to go crazy on my document. I stop here and I go restore this version, and it's going to bring everything back like magic. So that's the version history. Again, you go up to that, it's File, and you go down to version history, which is right here. So that's your sharing component, as well as your permissions to think of. Really important things ahead of time. You need to know who your audience is going to be. A lot of times people make mistakes sharing content and they forget to change anyone with the link, and then people don't get access to it. Or they inadvertently open it up to too many people when only a certain number of people should be looking at it. What we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how to insert some other things within here, inserting images and stuff. So thank you, Lynn, for doing fun stuff on here. Document, meaning let's say that I want to be able to very quickly jump down to, here's the top of my document. I want to immediately go down to see what's in the sheet section. So if I click the sheets, it's going to take me right down to the Google Sheets portion. All right. And then if I want to go back to the top, I put a button in that says back to the top. This is a really easy thing to do in a Google Doc. All you're going to do is figure out where the first thing you're going to ask yourself is what is the bookmark going to be? So if I click right here, so if I turn from download to down to bookmark. So now this area has its own unique link to it. So if you remember earlier where I hyperlinked the document, where we got the link to the doc, we're going to do the same thing here. So if I wanted the word "and" to go to download, I'm going to highlight the text of the word, click the link button, and now what you see below is I have a new thing for it called bookmarks. If I hit that little drop down, now I see that's where download is. So all I do is hit that and hit apply, and now the word "and" is going to take me right down to download. So if you are the person who's making annotations on a handbook or something like that, bookmarking things is really, really important to do. Otherwise, you're going to be scrolling forever to do things like that. These don't appear on the print version by any means. You can. These are just digital tools that you have at the ready for your Google Doc. For some other things too, if you wanted to figure out how to enter, I have my own Bitmoji here, and I have the Twitter, the tweet symbol that has a hyperlink to my Twitter handle. If you want to know how to do things like that, when you're in your Google, now you have a lot of different options. You can pull images directly from your computer. You can search images from the web, or you can, if I wanted to, insert a picture of myself right now. Here I am. It turns my camera on, and it would insert my picture right from here. So whatever you want to do in regards to that, entirely up to you. But all those things. Now, here's my favorite feature about inserting images in no Google Doc, though, and this is called the Explore tool. Easiest way to get to the Explore tool in a Google Doc, if you look down in the bottom right-hand corner, there's this little icon right here called the Explore tool. What the Explore tool allows you to do is it allows you to go out and search the internet, search Google, without leaving your document. So if I wanted to put in the image of, let's say, a wildcat, it's doing three things simultaneously right now. It's searching the web for the wildcat, it's searching Google Images, and things I want you to be aware of. It's searching images in an arena that is pretty much available for reuse or modification for copyright. Most people go right to google.com, search for something, use the snipping tool, or copy paste it. Many of those images in google.com are not available for reuse or modification. The ones that are in the Explore tool have a more free of use of the content that's in there. So you see I have the images here. Let's say I really like this image right here. I can do one of two things. I can grab it and drag it over, or I can hit the plus symbol. Either one of those is immediately going to put the document or put the image right into my Google Doc. When I click on it, I also see exactly where it came from. It's automatically hyperlinked. It's also going to search your drive. So you could very quickly open up another document in your drive as well that has something related to Wildcat. So really, it's one of my favorite features. It's called the Explore tool. Again, that little icon on the right-hand side, that's one way to get it, or you can go up to Tools and Explore Tool as well. A couple other things that are in the tool section of a Google Doc. You have your spelling and grammar. These give grammar suggestions. So, I mean, I can tell you I'm a terrible writer. So when I write, the grammar suggestions for me are very, very helpful. You don't have to use them, but it just makes you think about things about, should there be a comma there? Should there be a semicolon there? Should there be an extra space there? All of those things that are available to you in the tools section. Also has the dictionary up there. And this is where the translate document section is as well too. So if I have a document that's up and I wanted to translate this document, let's say I want to translate it into Spanish. I go down to Spanish and I click translate. And what it's going to do is it's going to create another version of this document that has immediately translated it into Spanish. I still have my original document right here to the left. It just creates another copy that puts it in translation. Again, great feature. Other tools that I have here in this section, I have voice typing. So, you know, if you're trying to dictate something, if you do voice typing, I'm going to do this here. I'm going to click voice typing. You see I have my little microphone on the left. I click to speak. And now at this point, it is going to start recording. And then I stopped it. So you see, now at this point, it is going to start recording. It was completely on point. So the voice recording feature is extremely powerful. When you pause, it picks up periods, capitalization, all of these things. So the voice recording is also a great feature within a Google Doc as well. A couple other last things to look at here. In your file section for a Google Doc, if you needed to change your document from portrait to landscape, you're just going to go down to page setup. And this is where you can customize. If you needed it to be even a custom size, you can change all of those settings right here. That's where all your margins too, if you want to make custom margins, all that. If you wanted to insert headers, footers, all of those things, you're going to find those within here. It has equations and special characters in here. So if you needed to add fractions, exponents, subscripts, superscripts, all of those things, that's in your insert menu there, as well as your headers and your footers, your numbers, all those things within the scope of it. Also in your file menu, you will see here your document details. Sometimes people forget who owns the document, you know, what are some things. This tells you that it tells you where it is. It's in my drive in the general section, not in a subfolder. I'm the owner of it. And the last time anything was done to it was that it was created. A couple other just quick things to look at this. This is where all of your conventions and grammar components are within here. If you need to make any of those changes, you know, it's like anything else. The more you play with some things like this within the Google Doc, the more you're going to learn it. You know, you have your copy paste within here. You have your outlines. You can put in section breaks, a lot of those different things that you probably are doing in Microsoft Word right now. So a lot of these things work simultaneously. Last thing, just to show you, let's say that you are done with your Google Doc and this is something you want to put on the school's webpage or somebody else needs to, and you want it to be in a PDF. All you need to do is go to File, and you're going to go to Download, and here's your options. You can convert this directly into a Word document, or you can convert it into a PDF. And it's going to take that and now convert it into a PDF file. So you see down in the lower left-hand corner, this is what it would look like in a PDF. It didn't replace the file, it just created the PDF version. My existing file is still right here. So those are some of the basic and really cool features about Google Docs. Some of these things you're going to see, they are across many of the products in the G Suite. You're going to see in both Sheets and Docs, you have an activity dashboard. When you click on your activity dashboard, this gives you analytics on the document. So I can see who's viewed it, how many times has it been viewed, Are people making comments? I do need to show you to make comments. I forgot that part. The sharing history. Who else has shared this document and with who, when, what, and what kind of privacy settings do I have on it? So again, those are your analytics and things you can do. That's your activity dashboard. But the last thing here to do comments. All right, so this is how a lot of teachers in the classroom right now are giving digital feedback to kids, and as well as a lot of administrative assistants and principals going back and forth digitally, especially in the realm we're in. The last thing you want to have to do is constantly send and attach a different version after different version. That is just not efficient for anybody, because you lose your mind as to which version is this. So to give yourself the ability to give digital comments, all you're going to, you see this little plus with it's a comment box right here. This is your comment feature. So if you were to look at this and say, well, you know what? I don't really understand the activity dashboard. I'm going to highlight activity dashboard, and I'm going to click my comment button. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, please explain this more. And that's going to trigger a comment. Now, if I wanted to look at this and say, I really wanted to assign a comment to somebody. So let's say the translation, I'm going to insert a comment again, highlight the text. I'm going to assign this to Lynn, because I want Lynn to create some things for me. If you hit the plus button in the comment, so if you hit shift above the equals, plus, this is where it's going to assign the comment to somebody. So what this is, I'm going to type in Lynn's, see, it's going to pre-populate. I'm going to assign this to Lynn, and I'm going to assign that I want her to take a look at that. So that's going to trigger an email to her that's going to say, hey, Lynn, take a look at this. And then from there, I can post another comment that says, you know, can you add some content to this? So you can do general comments or specifically assign comments to individuals within a Google Doc. Google Docs has an app for the Samsung, Android, and Apple devices. Everything that I'm doing here, for the most part, I can do on an app. The last thing for Google Docs are add-ons. And add-ons are coded products that really enhance the experience of a Google Doc. To get add-ons, right up here we see add-ons. So what do I mean by add-ons? There's an Avery Label Maker add-on that will put it to whatever label you need. There's another one that's you can do for mail merges. There's bibliography ones. When you want to look at add-ons, these are usually managed by the IT department. If there are add-ons you want to search, it's like shopping for anything else. When you go to add-ons, you click get add-ons. It's going to take you out to the marketplace where you can look at these, and you see people rate them, and all these do is enhance the experience. You see there's e-signature on here, there's annotation features, math type charts, all of these things. I know in my arena at the IU, if I want one of these, I have to get it approved by IT. They have to take a look at it first. But these are, you know, when you click on an add-on, it tells you what it is and what it does.
It's going to be,
you kind of get
another half hour at least.
Yes, it is another half hour. Yep. So this gives you, you know, some enhanced features for your Google Docs. And then depending on what you do in your role, that would be certainly something for you to look at, and certainly be in touch with your IT department about that. So that gives you a Google Docs 101. What we're going to do is we're going to translate into Sheets. What I put in here for Sheets for you, if you scroll down a little bit in the document, is this is a little template for you to make a copy of that you can tinker around and play with Google Sheets. I'm going to demo some things on the version of that. What we're going to do with Sheets in here is you're going to see the nice thing about Google is they repeat features. So the way I share a Google Sheet is the exact same way I share a Google Doc. The way I insert and use Explore tool works the same way in Sheets as it does in Google Docs. So some of these things are a complement of what you've done in Google Docs. So a couple different ways to get to Sheets again. If you go to your Drive, I'm in Drive. click New, I go to Google Sheets. But again, you see, when I look over here and I hover, and I see that arrow, I have a template gallery again. So there are pre-built templates in here for you already. Calendars, grade books, attendance, to-do lists, planners, dashboards, charts, all of those. So there's the general, but again, what would you see? We have our voucher in here. We have our travel expense. That means everybody uses the exact same format. So you may put in supply list, you may put in a budget, a building budget, a department budget, a supply chain list, whatever that vendor list, whatever that may be, you can put in so that everybody is using the exact same format, which again, in your role is really important to you because there's nothing more crazy than when teachers send you things that are all in different formats to rip your hair out. So you want things to look the same so that it makes you much more effective and efficient in your role. So you have the ability to work together within your office, your other fellow office staff, and come up with what are some of those templates we want to use within our building or our department. So again, I can get to Sheets through Drive, or I can get there by going to sheets.google.com. Remember, whatever the Google product is, .google.com will take me there. And when I'm in Google Sheet, this is the template that I shared with you that you can make a copy of. The very first thing that you really want to do is you want to give it a name. Otherwise, it's going to be Untitled Sheet. A Google Sheet, just like a Google Doc replicated a Word document, a Google Sheet replicates a Microsoft Excel document. The two of these work hand in hand. You can convert an Excel into a Google Sheet, or you can convert a Google Sheet into an Excel. Now, for those of you that use Excel but don't have Office 365, you constantly have to be sending back and forth different versions over and over and over. And sometimes it's really hard to see those changes. If you have Office 365, you have the ability to do with what you're doing with Google Sheets where you can edit in live time. So just like in Google Docs, what saves automatically, it does the same thing in a Google Sheet. Everybody has access to the exact same document. There are not multiple versions of the document. In a Google Sheet, you see that we have our cells right here. A couple different things that I want to show you within here that replicate what you do in Google Docs is it's the same share button. When I click that share, it's identical to the way we shared a Google Doc. Same structure, same look, it's identical. The exact same way you share a Google Doc is the exact same thing you do to share a Google Sheet. Names, distribution lists, all of those things. That's a great feature. You see that you have an activity dashboard as well. Same thing as a Google Doc within there. So that's intentional, so that it makes it much more ease of use as a user for you to see things. Now, what makes a Google Sheet different, obviously, is the idea that this is more of a use for tables versus narrative text, much more on the analytical side. So I'm in my sheet. This is my entire workbook. Think of it like this. Down here on the bottom, I can have multiple sheets. So if I wanted this to be page 1, I could call that page 1. But if I wanted to add another sheet down here in my workbook, I double click on it. Now I call it page 2. So my Sheets 101 is the workbook consisting of these multiple sheets. Now you see there's little arrows down here. If I click on those arrows, I can change the color of these if I want to. So you see now that bottom one's blue, this one has no color. Okay, it's up to you how you want to do that. But I can make the same sheet and duplicate that sheet. So if I have, for example, if I have down here a tab for homerooms or lockers. So if I want grade 7 lockers, grade 8 lockers, grade 9 lockers, I might create a grade 7 list and then duplicate that tab 2 times. For whatever it may be. What are things you have to think about that are duplicative type documents that you're going to utilize. So I'm back here on my page 1, so I'm in this current sheet right here. When I go up here to my file menu, just some options. Again, you can see I can download right away this as an Excel if I want to. As a PDF file I can, or if I wanted to convert it into a CSV file, which or a tab delimited file, I can do those things, because in some of those cases, your tech department needs things in a CSV format to upload. So you can do all those different things pretty quickly in regards to that. Again, you still have a version history, just like I do within a Google Doc as well. And additionally, I have document details. Yes? Was there a question?
Josh, there's some talk in the chat that I don't know if it's your microphone but there is a little bit of static, a little bit of disconnection in the audio. So just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, unfortunately, from what we were told, Zoom is experiencing some tremendous audio issues today across the board. So I do apologize for that. I will make sure to mark that down and let the tech department know that, because they did ask me if I was still experiencing issues, but it seems to be systemically across the board. Jill, can you hear me pretty clearly right now?
It just crackles a little bit.
Okay.
It's in and out, and then it catches up speed. You know how it does that sometimes when it's rendering?
Okay.
So that's just, I'm sure there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, I do apologize for that. I will I don't have a fix for that other than, I can, in the Google Doc, I'll go back and I can type out some of these things as more directional based if there were things that you didn't hear. So again, I'm really sorry for that. Zoom is experiencing, unfortunately, some audio issues due to their recent update. So I'll go back to what I was talking about here with File. Again, in File, you can download these as an Excel file, as a PDF, as a CSV file, or as a tab separated value. You can do that. Again, you have version history just like you have with a Google Doc. When was it created, all those things. And additionally, you have spreadsheet settings that you can change. Most people don't change. This is up to you. Like if you are somebody who is into the nitty gritty of these are some settings that you can tinker with. I usually don't mess with those. Now, within your cells here, these are some features I wanted to show you in regards to this. So first thing is filtering data. Filtering data is probably one of the best things that you can do. I'm going to turn the filter off of this for right now just to show you how to filter data. So here I have some data that's in here that I have last name, first name, grade, and homeroom. Now, many of us have been in situations where we've asked people to fill out something and they've put in, instead of doing what they were supposed to, they put the last name in and then the first name in a separate column and decided to put it into both. And for the longest time, you had to basically retype everything in. What a real pain. This works in Excel as well, but if you needed to, instead of having to delete that and retype it, you could click on this cell, and if you go up to data and you go to split text to columns, all you have to do is tell what's separating the text. And in this case, the last name and the first name were separated by they were by a space, but this will detect it automatically. And what it's going to do is it's going to separate it. And you see it automatically took the whole name and separated it. That's a real pain when people do that. So now that instead of all that text being in one cell, it's separated for us. So now what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to take this data and I want to be able to do things to it. Because some of the spreadsheets I know that a lot of you get, and I know that I had hundreds, thousands of things, and to scroll is just really challenging to do. So one of the things that you want to do in your Google Sheet is you want to highlight all of the data that you're going to look at. And once it's highlighted, you're going to go over to, it kind of looks like a martini glass, but you're going to create a filter. And you see, as soon as I did that, it created all of these subfilters in each column. So now if I go over and I look at this and I click on that, I can immediately sort this column from A to Z, Z to A, if I wanted to. And you see now I have an alphabetical order by last name. I could go over and I could sort this by values if I wanted to. I could sort it by condition. So let's say that I only wanted to look at individuals who were on the 100 hallway. So I want to look at people who are less than 200. So I would do less than 200 and click OK. It's only going to show me the people in the 100 hallway. I know the filter's turned on because you see it fills itself in. I can go into there and I can just turn off that filter really simply, and just by putting in none back to that, and it's just going to bring it back. So filtering data, you know, perhaps maybe I just want to look at one person's. I uncheck them, and I'm sorry, two. Now I see just those two. It didn't delete them. It just allowed me to look at data much more closer. That's filtering data. Something you really want to do. Turn that on right away, because it just makes things so much easier to look at from a data perspective. Other things that I can do with the data that I have in here is I have the ability to make charts right away. So if I wanted to make a chart of the people in grades and homerooms, I highlight the text. And there's two different ways I can do this. I highlight the text that I want to go in a graph or chart, and then I go over where it says insert chart. And what it's going to do is it's going to create a chart for me. But I can, so right now it did a bar graph for me, homeroom versus grade. But I can go over to here and I can change and put in what different one do I want. Do I want a column chart? Do I want a line chart? Do I want a circle graph? Whatever I want, I can immediately change that just like that. Really easy to do. That's one way to do it. But here's the cool feature again. If you remember, we did the Explore tool. And the Explore tool is that little icon down in the bottom right-hand corner. If I look at the data again and I click Explore, what it's going to do for me is it's going to give me suggested graphs of my data that I can pick, grab, and I can drag it right into here if I want to. But you also see it gives me data on here. It tells me that the sum of is 832, the average is 83.2, the minimum is 3, the maximum is 204, and the count is 12. So it's taking care of a lot of data analysis on my data for me without having to run any formulas whatsoever, just by highlighting whatever text I want. So if I wanted to look over here and say, well, I want this data just to have it done, you see it changes automatically. I can tell that there is six cells within there. The max grade is 4, the minimum grade is 3, just by doing and changing it. If I go over to this column over here, you see this changes automatically. So it's doing your calculations for you, as well as giving you what it suggests as a custom chart for you. You know, that is not something Excel does for you. Really cool feature within there. Other things you can do with data too is, this is a neat feature, is inserting checkboxes. So, you know, if you're looking to check off as people turn things in, you know, if I create a header, call it checkboxes, I'm going to click on the cell here. I'm going to go to insert, and go down to checkbox. And now you see there's a checkbox there. I can click and drag this by hovering over that little square in the bottom right-hand corner, holding my left mouse button down, and now I can drag the checkboxes down. So now as people do things, I can check things off. And that, again, that was by going up to insert, checkboxes. I can do some other things too. If you have a Google Sheet and you want to do a drop-down menu in here, this is something called data validation. So let's say that you are creating, you want people to select from, is this a supply or is this instructional software? All right, so if I click on a cell and I go to data and I go to data validation, what I'm going to do here is all I'm going to change the criteria is from a list from a range to a list of items. So we said, is this a supply or is it instructional tech? So I separated it. I click save. Now you see there's a little drop down here. I click on that little drop down. I'm forced to pick one of those two choices. So what the concept of data validation is that there's specific data in a certain way that you want people to put in there. So if you want people to enter a date, a time, again, I go back to one of the things a lot of people spend time on is people submit things in different ways. I saw this the other day with my wife. My wife's a PE teacher, and they did a Google form about doing a virtual track meet and people run a 100-yard dash. Some people put in minutes and seconds. Some people put in the number of seconds. Some put in decimals. Well, she had to go in and redo all of that. Had she used data validation, it would have forced people to put in the data in a specific way so that what you're looking at is the exact same. So that if you want it to be minutes, seconds, that's how data has to be entered. That's what the concept of data validation is in Google Sheet. Other features you have up here for your data for text is, again, you have the ability to text wrap. You have the ability to vertically align your text. You can even rotate your text in a cell. So if I wanted my text to go on an angle downward, I can select that. And when I hit enter, it puts the text on an angle. I can hyperlink text. So if I want this cell to take me somewhere, let's say we want to take it back to that Google Doc we did. I click the cell, I click the link button, and I'm going to grab the hyperlink of our training doc, copy it, and I'm going to paste that link right into there. So now when people go to this, that's hyperlink. That cell is a hyperlink to our Google Doc. So I can create hyperlinks within the scope of my Google Sheet if I want to. These are your borders right here. So I want to put borders around every cell. I can do that. And again, if I click and drag the little plus sign, if I click and drag in the bottom right-hand corner, that will pre-populate. It's going to copy and paste all of the data over. So that's an easy way to duplicate items within there. You can comment in cells. So if I want to comment on a specific cell, say, let's say Alex right here, I want to comment in here and say, they're missing their library book. And if I knew how to spell library, that would help. Now I know there's a comment in that cell because there's this little triangle in the upper right-hand corner. When I hover over it, the comment will pop up. So that allows me, again, to make it interactive within here. There are add-ons for Google Sheets, just like there were for Docs. Some of the ones that I have here in the document that I mentioned were mail merging. This is where the Avery label makers ones are here, and Lynn added option 1, option 2 within here. These are very good ones to take a look at within here. So one of the things that I hope you're seeing with Google Sheets is that I never had to save button. Everything I'm doing in here is saving it automatically. The misconception about Google Sheets is that everybody thinks it has to be about text and numbers. But I can use simple things right here that if I just want to color code my cells too, I can make my cells different colors. You know, I know people who do pixel art in a Google Sheet by changing the size and making the size of every single cell the same and doing pixel art. But you can color code things within here, you know, just to someone, if you're very visual and you need to do that, just by going into a cell, going up to the paint bucket and putting in a color to that. And that will put a color within here. You also have formulas in Google Sheets, just like Excel. These are your basic functions. You can take the sum of something, average all of those things. You know, if you want to do them by hand, let's say I wanted to find the average of the homeroom. It's not something you would do, but just for the sake of training. To trigger a formula, you hit the equal sign, and then you see it gives me recommended ones. So if I click that, it's going to do it automatically for me. But if you want to do these by hand, you just type in equals, and then what is the function? I'm taking sum, and I do open parenthesis, and I click and drag all of the cells I want, and I close the parenthesis, and then there's my sum. So I can hand type in the calculations, or again, I can go to this cell, go up to my formulas, type in sum. It does the open close brackets for me. I need to just tell Google Sheets what cells do I want to take the sum of, and it's that for me as well there too. You can format your cells if you want them to be a specific cell. So if I want my cells to be a specific number, a percent, financial, so for budgeting, you can set them up that way. If I wanted to make sure it's rounding, what I want it to round to, date, time, all of those things, that's also handling some of the data validation components for what they need to look like as well. But the great thing about this is, you know, if you are somebody who works with the department chairs, you're going to share this Google Sheet with them, and the people are going to fill in the information for you. You're not going to have to wait for them to send it back to you. You can go into your sheet at any time and see who still hasn't filled out what. You know, and there's one version of it. You don't have to wait for somebody to make changes and send it back to you. There's always just one version of this Google Sheet. So I've done a lot of demoing for you. I hope this was really helpful. I'm going to jump back in. Again, I really apologize about the audio. And I certainly will let my tech department know, but I do think it is systemic across Zoom. I'm going to jump back in here, see if you have any questions that you didn't get answered in the chat and you want to share those out, please let me know. Feel free to share it out. I saw a lot of questions about formulas. Hopefully you got a chance to see that. This can be used all the way up through. I mean, this does. Do you have a Google Form video uploaded? Google Forms will be next week.
Yeah, we do have two
right
Google
now.
Forms video. Yeah, Forms is on, I think it's on Tuesday, but we also have two that are already uploaded to the on-demand section.
The reason why we do this first is because you have to understand how to use Google Sheets in order to understand how to use Google Forms, because Google Sheets are married to Google Forms. Your data comes into a Google Sheet. So that's why we want to just go through some of the ins and outs of Sheets before that. Because if you don't have knowledge of Sheets, you'll do really well with having an understanding of what the form process is, but the data that comes in, if you don't have a knowledge of Sheets, we want to make sure that was helpful for you.
Excuse me, when you're doing versions, can you just deselect certain versions, or do you have to go back to a specific version? Can you just wipe out something that one person did, but keep all the rest of the things that you measured?
Oh, and that's what the concept of version history is. So when you go into version history, every change that was made, it keeps a version of that. So if you just want to go back to the version where a person just did one little blurb, it will do that. So you can see what they did, and you can even go in yourself, since you're the owner of it, and just refix that portion of it as well.
Okay.
That's where, like, it's one of those things where you really want to be careful, like I said, who you want to be doing things on there. You know, one other thing too, like more of an advanced setting, but I'll show this to you as well, is you can protect data in here. So let's say I wanted to make sure I didn't want anybody to change these. I don't want people to delete my headers. If I select my headers and I go up to data and I go to protect, what this is going to do is I can allow people to enter data underneath, but what it's going to do is not going to allow people to change or delete any of that stuff. So if I selected the headers, I clicked data protect sheet, it selected that range of data, and I'm going to call this headers just so I know what I'm protecting. And I click set permissions. You can do one of two things here. You can completely restrict anybody except yourself from doing that, or you can put in a message that says, you know, show a warning, and a warning will prompt that will say, hey, you're not supposed to change this. So so if there's certain things you definitely want to make sure people don't change in your Google Sheet, you can do that as well. But going back to a version history will take care of that too. Any other questions or things that I can help you with, or Lynn can help you with? I want to thank Lynn for handling the chat in the background. And, you know, Lynn is also a Google trainer as well, probably one of the best ones out there that I know. And, you know, so if you know, there are things that we did not answer for you, this was too fast or my audio was terrible, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. You know, we're happy to help in whatever way we can. You know, and if that means I need to screencast or just Zoom with you again one-on-one to show you something, I'm happy to do that. Because I know this is a lot in a little information. So again, this was recorded, so you can go back and review that. But obviously, if the part that if the audio was bad live, that means in the recording the audio is also going to be poor. I did also do a Sheets 101 on our Burke site that Lynn shared in the chat. That was very similar, so the audio might be better on that one. But I wanted to tailor this more to what your needs are. Having been a former administrator, I know some of the specific spreadsheets and things you do with these. So I wanted to tailor it more to your and then the teaching end of it. So. I'm going to give one last shout out for questions. If not, please don't forget to check our schedule for upcoming sessions. As you can see, this is your tasks as a reminder, but also I have it in here somewhere. I have too many things up. The next one we have is Google Forms, which is on Tuesday, May 26th at 10 a.m. And then after that, we have Google Slides. Google Slides is Google's version of PowerPoint. Microsoft has their own forms, but I would say Google Forms, I think, in my opinion, are easier to work than Microsoft Forms. I'm not here to bash Microsoft. I'm a Microsoft trainer too, and I use Office 365 just as much as I use Google. I use them both. It's just for me, Google with certain things makes it a lot easier to use, but I certainly do use both products, and I think we'll always be in a world where we have to use both products. But these are upcoming sessions. We hope to see you there as well with those, and anything we do to help you with Google, just let us know. But not seeing more questions, I am going to stop sharing, as well as Lynn, since you started the recording, do you need to stop the recording or can I do that?
Yep, I'll stop it. Thanks everybody for coming. Thank
Yes,
you, Josh.
thank you. Have a nice holiday weekend, everybody, and enjoy. And we hope all of you remain safe and well.
Bye-bye.
As well.